In recent days, Sayadaw has spoken about how, according to the Buddha, Vipassana Samadhi, the knowledge contained within Vipassana, and Magga Samadhi, the knowledge that arises together with the path. For these, there are two causes for these two to arise. The first is to study the correct method of practice, and then, with the practice of Vipassana, to observe every arising object directly. Sayadaw also mentioned the four causes for knowledge to arise according to the Abhidhamma. And most recently he mentioned how in the commentary to the suttas, for the type of knowledge that is called Dhammavicaya Sambojjhanga, this is knowledge which is able to investigate and know the true nature of nama and rupa, and so on. For this to arise, there are 7 causes. In summary, what the Buddha said is very effective, very accurate. If one wants to know the phenomena that really arise, that really exist, first of all, one has to study the correct method. And then, not only that, one must apply the practice. When one applies one's observation, rupa and nama, the knowledge of nama and rupa, and so on, will occur in stages. The Vipassana Samadhi, the knowledge contained in Vipassana, also occurs. One comes to see the 3 characteristics that rupa and nama have in common. They are impermanent. They arise and pass away. They don't last. They are suffering because of this. They are unsatisfactory. And they lack an inherent self. And from here, when the Vipassana knowledge is complete, one goes from observing the continual stream of rupa and nama, mental and physical phenomena that make up one's being, to the cessation of these, which is called apavata. One comes to see nibbana with Magga Samadhi, the knowledge contained in the path. The points that the Buddha described are very easy. One just needs to apply ardent effort so that mindfulness will arise and stick to the arising object, so that samadhi will be developed. So one has to apply effort to bring these factors about: effort, mindfulness, and concentration. And this is what the yogis are doing now. So today, what Sayadaw would like to speak about is, what are the benefits that come from doing this? What results when we do this? If one has the desire to know the true Dhamma, then one searches for the correct method. One has to study the correct method. So it's said, if we don't know the method true, then study, learn it till we do. So we study by hearing about the method, we discuss it, and we read. And we should find a good spiritual friend. The word Kalyanamitta means a good friend, a lovely friend. From a good spiritual friend, we can study the method. And if what we study is not clear, then we have to ask. We have to discuss with Kalyana Metta. We can't just go according to what we think. So the word in Pali, sutta, has the meaning of line. So when we write, if the paper is unlined, without lines, our writing may go up or down the page. It's not easy to write straight across the page when there's no lines on the paper. So we have to draw lines. You have to rule the paper. And then we write on the lines. And in the same way, this method, which is called sutta in Pali, the method is what we need to follow, just like we need to write along the lines of the paper. So we need to really learn what the method is. We need to learn it well. So like when we're reading, we need to learn the alphabet, and we need to say the letters, and then we begin to spell small words, and based on our early lessons, our reading ability develops. So this is the same way with learning about the method. If we don't know the method true, we learn it till we do. So not just going the way we think might be good, but actually following the method. And then the second quality, the second point for these right view to arise is ajatansa yoniso manasikara. That means that one applies one's attention to the objects that are arising at the six sense doors, applying our observation. Yoniso is explained as patato. That means our observation is according to the method, according to the path that has been pointed out by our study. And we don't just work half-heartedly. We need to have faith that what we are doing will be beneficial and desire to get the benefits of the practice. Without faith, without belief in what we're doing, effort won't come. And with faith, there will be desire, chanda, to get the results. And with chanda, there will be effort to bring this about. So it's said, if we don't know what's to be known, then note, observe it, so we do. So we have to observe the phenomena arising in our bodies according to the method. So there are these two parts of what we do, studying the method and then applying it according to the instructions. Said, if we don't know what's knowable, observe and know it, so we will. So there are two kinds of things that are knowable, that are to be known in our being. And these are rupa and nama. Nama and rupa, just these. This is what is to be known. Rupa, or what is physical, doesn't know. Nama, that which is mental, knows. And this is how the Buddha taught about these, so that people would understand. There are 28 different kinds of physicality, of rupa, in our being. But for the meditators, what we need to know is the four basic elements that make up physicality. Patavi, tejo, vayo, apo, earth, temperature, air, and water. Patavi, or the earth element, is hardness and softness. If you feel your bone, If you feel a bony area on your body, it'll feel hard. If you feel muscle or skin, it'll feel soft. And the bone will be light. The muscle area will be relatively heavy. This is because of the water element. Water is that which is liquid, flowing, sticky, cohesive. It's called apo. And then there's heat, warmth, coolness. These are the characteristics of the element of temperature. Our bodies are hot, then they become cold, they become warm. The body has various temperatures. And then there's stiffness, tension, vibration, movement. These are aspects of the air element, Vayodhatu. These are the basic building blocks of our body. These are the four basic elements. And at the start, the yogi needs to know about these. And then apply the practice in order to know them. In addition to this, there's seeing a visible object, hearing a sound, smelling a fragrance, tasting a flavor, touching something tangible, thinking a thought or imagining something. All these are knowing. These are the 6 types of knowing. These are mental, called nama, and these happen at the 6 sense doors. So there's seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness, smelling consciousness, tasting consciousness, touching consciousness, and knowing consciousness. So in these moments of experience, there's mental and physical combining. Rupa and nama occur together in these things that we experience. While these things happen, we have to observe them. We have to follow them right at the moment when they arise. So it's said, if we don't know what's to be known, then observe it, so we will. Because of not observing, there's ignorance, avijja. We observe and we dispel this ignorance. The word observe has just 2 syllables, but it involves many mental powers, and Sayadaw will talk about this. If we don't know what's knowable, if we don't observe, then we won't know. And therefore, we apply that. If we observe in order to dispel the not knowing. Observe it, so we will. So we look, not with the eye though. We look with the eye of wisdom. At the start of our practice, this eye of wisdom is not there. To create it, we have to add powers to the mind. So, immediately when the object arises, when there's hearing or smelling, tasting, touching, at that very moment we have to be ready to catch it. We need to apply ardent energy, atapa, wholehearted energy. This is what is meant by being ready to catch the object. We have to apply our mental energy to get to the object. We can't be casual about it. We can't just gaze. The mind should be alert and active, not sluggish. So this is one of the first mental power that is needed for us to know what is to be known, for us to observe. And then, when effort is applied, sati will also be present. And with enough effort, sati will stick to the object. And then, eventually, it will become firmly established on the object. This sati is another mental power that is needed for observation to happen. When sati is steadfast on the object, then the mind doesn't run anywhere. It falls collectively on the object. So there's no wanting to see good things, no wanting to smell good things, taste, touch, hear, think good things. There's no thought about sense desire. And there's no movement of the mind due to greed or to raga and to dosa, anger. The mind is clean. And this is what we mean by observe. This clean mind can observe. We have to continue observing many times. In one moment of observation, there's not very much energy. But when the mind that contains virya, sati, and samadhi, effort, mindfulness, and concentration, occurs one time after another, an amazing power develops. If we look at a rope, it's made up of many strands of fiber, and one individual strand is not all that strong. If we put 2 or 3 strands together, it'll become stronger. And when there's many strands of fiber that are tightly twisted together into a rope, the rope becomes strong. This is a physical example. What happens mentally has even more strength than the physical. When virya, sati, and samadhi are connected continuous one after another, they have power. And we should try not to have any gaps. If we have a gap of a moment or 2, that's not bad, that's okay. But if the moment, if it's more than that, for example, in 1 minute of not noting, not observing, there will be 60 times of not observing. In 5 minutes it will be even more, 300 times. So this gap will be quite big. And if our mental power is something that depends on continuity, if the power that we build depends on one observing mind following the other without a gap, then if the gap is large between moments of observation, this means that we lose energy. So yogis must understand that when knowledge doesn't arise, it's because virya, sati, and samadhi, the mind that contains these factors, is not continuously occurring. It's because there are gaps. When there are gaps, knowledge will not blossom. And so it's said, if we don't know what's knowable, then note, observe it, so we will. When we observe, then we'll see. And thus the Buddha urged that we should always have virya, sati, and samadhi. If we don't know what's knowable, then note, observe it, so we will. To observe, when should we do it? There are various time periods. There's the past is already over. The present is right now. The future hasn't happened yet. So which of these time periods should we observe? Which type of phenomena? Past, present, or future? If we try to observe the past, because it's already over, we can't know it directly. It's not definite. If we try to observe the past, all we can see is a concept, a shade of what happened. And the future hasn't happened yet. We don't know what's going to happen, so we can't observe it. The present is what we need to observe. The present is definite. It's like looking at the sky when a flash of lightning goes by. The lightning lights up the sky. This is its power. It may be curved, it may be forked, it may look like a hand. This is its form. We have to look at the sky at the very moment the lightning flashes in order to know about it. The Buddha said, Bhutang, Bhutang Bhutato Pasati. One sees what is really there as it really is. For this, one needs to observe at the present moment. This is what is certain. This is what is definite. This is true. People who think about things, the object of their thinking is concept. When people look at phenomena with scientific instruments, one can only see form with them. So one can't see true nature by thinking, by reflecting, by using physical apparatus outside of ourselves. For observing what is really there, we need to observe when it happens. So it said only when we note at the moment of arising. Note at the very moment of arising, and then we are sure to see true nature. So at the very moment of arising means at the very moment that there is rupa and nama, at the very moment that there is seeing, at the very moment of hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, at the very moment of bending the arm or stretching it, at the very moment of lifting, moving, and placing, at the very moment of rising, of falling, of blinking, of opening and closing the eyes. All these moments are when things happen. So the rule is to observe. Observation has to be done at the moment that it happens. And when we do that, we will see true nature. So this is an absolute rule. A moment of arising, only then is one sure to see true nature. So what does this mean? One will be sure to see sabhava, sure to see true nature. This means the true nature, sabhava, of mental and physical phenomena. One will come to see what is there naturally. So one comes to see that these things have their individual nature, and they all also have common characteristics. Both individual and common characteristics are what is meant by sabhava, this sabhava that we are sure to know. This only happens if we observe at the very moment of arising. So only if we observe, that means that ardent effort must be applied, bringing with it sati and bringing with it samadhi. Only the mind with these three, viriya, sati, and samadhi, only the bhavana mind which occurs continuously, is what is able to know sabhava. So only then will we be sure to see sabhava, true nature. This word only means, it indicates a requisite for something else to happen. We will be sure to see sabhava if the three qualities of virya, sati, and samadhi are there. The result of seeing true nature depends on our observing at the very moment of the object arising. If we don't observe at the very moment, if we observe when the object has already gone by, or if we observe it before it happens, then we won't be able to see true nature. But if we apply our observation, if virya, sati, and samadhi are present and have energy, and we are looking at the object at the very moment, then we will know the true nature of nama and rupa. So we have to observe as it happens. Then one is sure to see true nature. So only if we observe at the very moment of arising will we be sure to see true nature. So we focus our mind on the abdomen. This is an example of how we do this. We focus our mind on the abdomen in sitting, and the abdomen rises when we breathe in. It falls back down when the breath goes out. At the start, we don't know very much about what is happening, but later, through repeated application of our attention at that area, we develop virya, sati, and samadhi. We develop these factors, and then when the mind falls on stiffness, it knows stiffness. When it falls on tension, the mind comes to know tension. When it falls on vibration or displacement, movement, the mind knows these things. So this is knowing true nature, knowing what is really there, knowing what is knowable, due to observing at the very moment of arising. Before, we weren't able to see. Before it happened, before the object arose, we weren't able to see it. But then, when the stiffness and tension arose, the mind fell on that and knew it. So the stiffness and tension is the cause. The object that was known is the cause, and the mind that knows it is the result. When one sees nama and rupa clearly, one comes to see how they are related as cause and effect. In order to see the Dhamma that is really there, whatever arises, just observe it when it happens. When samatha bhavana, when the factors of virya, sati, and samadhi have full energy, then we'll know. There will be knowledge. Only if one observes at the present moment. So it has to be when the object is happening, not before or after. And there has to be the observation of virya, sati, and samadhi, the mind that contains these factors. And these factors have to have full energy. Only when this happens will we be able to see true nature. If we work superficially, we won't even be able to gain samadhi. So for someone who is applying the practice in a superficial way, Sayadaw makes no guarantee about the results. If a yogi works respectfully, continuously, not taking breaks, cherishing the practice, Sayadaw guarantees that you will come to know true nature. If a yogi has practiced for a week and there's no difference, 2 weeks, no change in the practice, 3 weeks, no change in the practice, that means the yogi is lacking something. Virya, Sati, and Samadhi do not have full energy, or they're not there. The work isn't being done respectfully, or continuously, or without a break. It basically boils down to the work is not being done. So for such a yogi, Sayadaw makes no guarantee. But for a yogi who applies the practice in a respectful way, trying to work every moment, not taking breaks, one who works to develop the observing power of Virya, Sati, and Samadhi, one will naturally come to know what is really there. Sayadaw is going to continue tomorrow night to talk about how knowledge occurs in stages. That's all for today.